So I'm going to go pretty general on this one. Can you shed some light on relationships? I'm going to say this in a cake baking way. When the cake has been in the oven so long that you're like, it's going to burn if I don't take this ish out.
Some analogies are not as good as others.
So I've manifested an incredible man in my life, and we've built some incredible things, but he's had some things in his vortex before me that I'm having an issue with allowing. I don't know why. If Source was looking at it, there would be no judgment. I don't know if it's society or if it's just the contradiction of my desires and what his desires are.
Well, it is always a contradiction of the steady broadcasted thought and what you really want that causes that discord. But a relationship in and of itself is sort of like a manifestation that you sometimes feel has to be exactly a certain way in order to feel good. And the question is, can you feel good anyway? Almost everyone is looking for that perfect relationship in order to cause an improvement in the way they feel. And so you can't quite get around that when that is still what you're doing, and it is what almost everyone is doing relative to relationships. I want the perfect relationship so that I can feel good. And we would like all of you to realize that if you could just steadily feel good, you'd have a steady flowing in and out of your experience of all kinds of relationships on all kinds of levels of your being that would be satisfying. But to need it to be a certain way in order to feel good, that's the flawed premise that is tripping you up.
If he desires more variety in women, and I desire a monogamous relationship.
Well, here's how this works. So, as that is your desire, and something different is his desire, if each of you were true to your own desire, which means he's thinking about what he wants and not feeling handicapped or trapped by something that you want, and you're thinking about what you want, and you're not feeling threatened or vulnerable because he wants something different. So each of you are true to your own desire. Then each of you will reach into this big world of variety and attract to you a partner who is in complete agreement with what you are singularly broadcasting. But that often is not the case, because what's mixed up in your vibration is the stuff you don't want, and what's mixed up in his vibration is the stuff he doesn't want. So neither one of you are true to your own desire, and you're both blaming each other for not getting what you want. You see what we're getting at? Because you've come this far and you know this, and we can feel that you know it, and we're going to say it to you in a very blunt way. It is not a good idea to need someone who wants something different than they want to want something like you want, because that's just going to be something that you're going to trip over and trip over and trip over and trip over forevermore. And we think that's what the dominant vibration is that's going on here, because there are so many aspects that are so pleasing, and it's that one tripping point that is causing you so much consternation. Also, there is the belief that a relationship or any relationship is better than no relationship, and that isn't true either, because there's one in the process of becoming. And so if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would take this experience as something really important and something really satisfying and something really enjoyable and something really wonderful in so many ways. And we would say to ourselves on a regular basis, is this relationship causing me to put things in my vortex in a more powerful way? And we are certain that that is the case, that you are clearer about this than you ever have been ever before. In other words, this experience that feels like contrast has created clarity within you that is going to serve you really, really well. In other words, to come to a clear decision about what you want, to feel it so powerfully. In other words, what you've been putting in your vortex. Let's talk about this. So through all the relationships, all of the days of this life experience, you've been putting into your vibrational reality things that feel meaningful to you about relationships. The things that matter to you, you've been putting there. And then you get in the receptive mode, and the idea occurs to you of what you desire. And the desire that was born to you, hear this, we have not said this before, and it's going to be so important and meaningful to you. That desire that you found about monogamy is what your vortex created and you discovered. What your lover found from his vortex was the desire that his vortex created. Do you see what we're getting at? Did you hear what we're getting at? In other words, trust that the desire that you feel is a valid byproduct or culmination of what's in your vortex. And then don't ask yourself to defy that once you've received that clearly. Hold yourself in steady vibrational frequency with that and let the universe deliver to you all the way out what you want. You're following?
Yes. Yes, I for sure went and watched 500 videos on relationships and looked at the problem. So as I was watching all these videos that you've done on relationships, it was really interesting because there is a sense of freedom that I've always felt with him because of the non-pressure that he's put on me, like the society monogamous relationship. And it's given me the sense of freedom, even though I haven't necessarily desired to go use that freedom. It's given me a sense of freedom that I enjoy. And every other relationship I've ever been in has not given me that. It's actually felt like jail. So I was most likely to never get married, and now I'm not. And now the one I want to marry he desires more. And so I'm in a spot where neither one of us, wild horses are not pulling either one of us to walk away. We're best friends. We have a multi-million-dollar business together. We're doing phenomenal in every other aspect of life. So wild horses aren't pulling us. Do you stay and play it out, even though that condition is for sure a very hard topic to focus on, but you're staring at it every day?
We would, as long as what's occurring, in other words, the desires that continue to occur are being born out of what the two of you are creating together. There's no reason to walk away. There's no reason to take something that feels like it's not quite where you want it to be and use it as the reason to throw it all away. And what if in that vortex, what if in that vibrational reality, there are all kinds of meaningful, wonderful things yet for you to realize and discover? And the reason that you say wild horses cannot pull you apart, that means that the impulse to stay, the impulse to continue to co-create together, means that there's so much more that is there for you to discover. And if we were standing in your physical shoes, we'd stay there and discover it.
And just not focus on that.
We think this is a good way to, we've said this so many times just in the hours that we've been together. And it's nice to focus it on a subject that feels so specific and so poignant, that even within some really specific desire that has come into your realization in what feels to you to be a very clear form, is it possible that there is room for evolution of that desire? Is it possible? Because sometimes the reason for a desire, especially in its early stages, is coming out of guardedness more than out of freedom. And the fact that you're already discovering other aspects that you know for sure are in your vortex, that you're beginning to recognize are even coming through this very specific, what feels like a very narrow topic, means that there is evolution within your desire that is occurring. And that's what you are all about all the time. It is the evolution of desire that you came into this physical time-space reality to be about. In other words, you didn't come to regurgitate what generations before you had come to live. You're coming to carve out for yourself the uniqueness that is important to you. And so maybe you're giving yourself the freedom to desire differently than you ever thought you could desire. You see what we're getting at?
Yeah.
It's a sort of charged conversation because people almost always fall on one side or the other of that. And it's a rare one of you who says, well, maybe the way I feel about this is desire in the making. And we say, that's what it feels like to us.
In speaking about specifics, it causes a lot of resistance for me hearing some of the specifics that he has. I think it probably causes a lot of resistance for him hearing a lot of the specifics that I have. Is that something that you would just say, you guys co-create together, stop talking specifics, stop talking about what's in your vortex, stop focusing on those things altogether, because I think we're trying to say, hey, does this puzzle piece fit with this puzzle piece? Okay, great. If it doesn't, then we should walk away.
Well, what that is about is not yet quite accepting that your co-creative partner is your own inner being, that your co-creative partner is your own vibrational version of yourself. It's still trying to conditionally make something else fit. And we understand, we know that the whole reason that the components are in the vortex the way that they are because of the exposure to life experience that you've had with one another. And so we get why they feel like they're connected. We just want you to realize that any time that you are working hard to make what you want fit what someone else wants, you are almost always off track, because it's altering something within yourself to satisfy another. It's like each of you standing in a place where you're trying to be the path of least resistance for the other, rather than being who you are and letting law of attraction sort out the path of least resistance for each of you. And often what happens is, once you get that, when you stop trying so hard to be what the other one needs you to be, and instead you individually be what you need yourself to be in order to be true to your vortex version as far as you are able to receive it to this point, when you are true to who you are and yet still standing in appreciation of the other. That's really what step 5 living is being tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and staying true to all of the desires that you were able to identify so far, and not asking someone else to be different in order for you to find that satisfaction. What often happens is that in that superb, supreme alignment, the two of you morph into something that neither one of you could have been before. You see what we're getting at? This law of attraction is a very powerful thing, and the potential for all things changing are, if this time-space reality can cause a different outcome, even in someone who was born with tendencies towards some physical disability, certainly desires that you've picked up along your physical trail are morphable too. This topic is interesting as you feel the room, because the idea of change challenges beliefs, and most people are clinging tightly to their beliefs instead of to their expansion, instead of to their evolution, instead of to their joy. And we're on the topic that trips humans up, is a basis of a tripping up topic, and that is, which of the beliefs that I hold are still serving me, and which of the beliefs that I hold are not serving me? And do I hold beliefs that now challenge new desires that I just gave birth to? Abraham, is it possible that I am giving birth to new desires that my existing beliefs are challenging? And we say, all day, every day. And if you really want to be free, you're going to get more and more and more willing to let go of those beliefs, because in more cases than not, the beliefs are binding and hindering the new desires that are being born from the vortex. Oh, friends, we are right out here on the leading edge in a place that no one has been before. This notion, now stay with it just for a moment, this understanding that the vortex has spun into this creative experience, and that you are in the receptive mode and a new idea is born, a new desire is born. Is it possible that new desires could be born within me that challenge my old beliefs? And we say, all day, every day. That's what this conversation is really about. Really good time for a segment of refreshment.